have access to for data collection is our open-ended tests. Even our multiple choice tests can tell us a lot about student thinking if we think about it in the right way, using homework sets and other student artifacts that we might have access to. And of course, as teachers, we have access to a ton of things that students complete for us. I'm working on a particular homework um, project right now where we gave students in arithmetic, beginning algebra, and intermediate algebra a set of questions that we were piloting, so to speak. And we are now coding all of those questions. We're using open and axial coding, which is something that Strauss and Corbin, 1998, discusses in a book. And open and axial coding works something like this. As we have data from students, it could be through interviews, it could be through their mathematical work, we tend to take each little piece and code it. So in mathematics, we're looking for what are some of the wrong and correct ways of thinking about a problem. Oops, sorry about that. What are some of the incorrect ways that they write the mathematics? And we might develop codes as a result. We might develop codes based on their utterances if they were from interviews, and develop emerging themes that we can kind of classify these particular topics into. And so hopefully in this particular homework study that I'm working on, I'm just interested, or our college is interested in figuring out the kinds of writing that students are doing. Are they doing things like not putting an equal sign in their writing? Are they, when they're writing an equation, are they leaving the f of x equals off or y equals off of the equation and just merely writing an expression without understanding? So that's kind of our focus for that project. Another more sophisticated technique for data collection is conducting semi-structured student interviews. And this happens a lot in mathematics education. And it's a really nice way to be able to get student utterances and analyze them. So what happens a lot of time is we pull students out of class or conduct these interviews out of class, and there is an interviewer and a lot of times an observer. And we go through and develop an interview protocol ahead of time with questions that we want the students to grapple with. And then we simply ask them during the interview. We ask them to explain their thinking and their reasoning aloud so that we can capture that. So something I'd like to ask you guys to consider is that this particular webinar is just an overview, basic overview of action research, and we would like to have a follow-up webinar May 6th that we can come back together again and maybe share some of our findings. Now, in between now and May 6th, I'm hoping that you might be interested in engaging in an individual action research project in your own classroom, or perhaps pair up with some people to figure out what is your topic of study, what would you like to learn, and it just has to be something simple. It doesn't need to be, you know, a grandiose topic or something that takes multiple days to collect data. It could just be one set of tests that you look at. It could be one class session. It could even be just one student that you're following over a particular lesson or several lessons. And Maria just noted now in the chat room, simple is better, and I think that is certainly the case. So for this webinar, we wanted to identify a focus, talk about internal and external reflections, and hopefully create some research questions as a result of our time. In between now and the next webinar in May, what I'm hoping to do is somehow, some way, I know we're spread out all over the nation, but somehow, some way form small groups if possible, if we became interested in the same topic. And, oh, Maria, are you having a sound problem? Or Martine? Okay. Okay, no sound problem. I'll continue on. So just please keep that in mind if you're interested in forming a small group, or even if you're just interested in individually studying something. And just as a precaution, if you are going to engage and we're hoping you are, if you're going to engage in a action research project with our research group over the next couple of months, you'll need to get IRB approval through your campus if you're interested in one day presenting your findings or publishing your findings. And we have a committee of people who've been through an IRB process. It's Institutional Review Board is what IRB stands for. And many community colleges are now forming an IRB committee to approve and review certain investigation applications, just to make sure that the data collection efforts and the analysis efforts are appropriate for the setting. So if you have any questions about that, I can help you with IRB if you're interested. And we also have some other, Irene Durancic will also be available to help with IRB approval. In the next couple of months, we're hoping you'll conduct your investigation and analyze the data. And I know that sounds lofty, but truly this is just small, small, small. If you could pick one topic, one little topic, and learn more about that and analyze the data, and then provide some information about how you would change your test as a result of what you learned, or a particular question you might ask in your class, that would be extremely helpful. The second webinar that we have in May then will be focused on presenting these findings. So I'm hoping that I can garner some support among you guys who conduct an action research project in the next couple of months. And you might be interested in sitting in another webinar in May and actually presenting your findings. We can probably squeeze in 2 to 3 individual presentations or small group presentations. So please keep that in mind. The focus of that webinar number 2 will be teachers as learners, reflections of our own action research. All right, I have one more polling question for you guys. Which one of the following best describes your interest level for engaging in an active research project? So Maria, if you wouldn't mind putting another question up for polling. And I'll hold for a couple of seconds while you guys answer. Okay, Margie asked if I could send requirements out for the types of research that require IRB approval or IRB training. I'll be happy to do that. That's no problem. But a simple answer to that is this day and age, pretty much any research, even if it's an action research conducted on students by faculty, whether it's at your college or another college, should go through an IRB process. Many colleges are cracking down, specifically at the community college level, are cracking down on this, and just to make sure that human subjects, because we are all investigating humans, that we do get human subject approval. So. Oh, Maria says often the IRB process is asking your president. That could be very well the case. Unfortunately, in my district, it's a very lengthy application process, much like you would have at a university. There's an application you submit along with your methods that you're going to collect data, how you're going to analyze the data, a timeline. It can sometimes get fairly lengthy. I hope that's not the case at everybody's institution. So that's why I just wanted to mention it. We have a committee in our district that reviews all of the applications and then approves or doesn't approve. But oftentimes what happens is the IRB committee, if you have one on your district or your campus, they'll review the application and they'll have questions before they'll deny an application. They simply want more clarification. So typically you have that opportunity to provide more clarification or alter your study so that it is approved. But like I said, this is primarily needed only if you're interested in presenting your findings at a conference, for example, or publishing at some point. So thank you all for answering this, this poll. So we have about half the people, maybe 12 people or so, that are interested in engaging in a research project. And towards the end of this PowerPoint, I will show you, provide you with an email address, my email address, so that we could come together and figure out topics to study and how we're going to move forward in the next couple of months. Okay. So here's my email address, just april.strom@scmail.maricopa.edu. If you're interested in this, if you could send me an email that you're interested in participating in our project, say by next week, if not earlier, today is fine, and let me know. That way I can form groups together. If you know what your area of focus is, that would be wonderful if you could also include that in your email. That way, if there are people, even in different states, who are wanting to study the same thing, perhaps our committee could match up those people so that they could work together, unless, of course, you're interested in just working individually. Here's Irene's email address that if you need help with IRB, she's also available as well as myself. I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar that we had Research Symposium back in November at the AMATYC conference in Boston. And so we videotaped those sessions, and currently Michael Shaughnessy's presentation is available. This is the website that you could go to on the AMATYC website, and those videos are available just by clicking on the link, and they're posted also on YouTube. Maria just put the link in also in the chat room. And oh, that's a good question, Anne. When will this webinar be available to AMATYC members? I'm not sure. Maria, how fast can you turn around the video or the audio?